Welcome to Instruction Discussion, our weekly look at the latest topics and trends in education affecting schools here on Long Island and schools around the world. Whether you're a teacher, parent, or student, listen for tips and strategies to help you navigate the educational landscape. There's a bell. It's time to start today's Instruction Discussion on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, I'm Kevin Boston Hill, and welcome to Instruction Discussion, where each week we will examine a recent trend or development in education and its impact on Long Island. Today's discussion focuses on a topic that is not new, youth and smoking, but takes on a different wrinkle. Recently, the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has proposed a ban on menthol-flavored cigarettes and flavored cigars, citing that for over 60 years, the tobacco industry has deliberately targeted the Black community with menthol cigarettes. Because of this targeted marketing, 85% of Black smokers now smoke menthol cigarettes, compared to less than 10% in the 1950s. Additionally, menthol cigarettes are a major reason why tobacco is the leading cause of preventable deaths for Black Americans, claiming 45,000 lives every year. To help us further understand the hazards of menthol-flavored cigarettes and flavored cigars, as well as why they should be banned, we welcome Portia Reddick White, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships with the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, and Delmonte Jefferson, Executive Director of the Center for Black Health and Equity. Welcome to Instruction Discussion on 90.3 WHPC.
So glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Kevin.
So before we actually get started, tell us a little bit more about your respective roles. Ms. White, we'll start with you.
So I am working with the Tobacco Free Kids campaign to really set out and make sure right now we're laser focused on this on community actions and the tobacco related illnesses that are caused by the use of tobacco. And, you know, that actually goes to a couple of things. It's not just cigarettes. Yes, it is cigars, but it's e-cigarettes too. And all of these combustible and non-combustible products that have been pushed on kids, that have been pushed on targeted communities, such as the African American community. We are working to educate communities, to elevate the issue, and to encourage engagement in action and in policy.
Yeah, I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Black Health and Equity. And this organization promotes programs and services that benefit the health of communities and people of African descent. Now, we're a 21-year-old organization, and for 20 years, we were actually called the National African American Tobacco Prevention Network. And so what we did and what we still do is we build the capacity of African Americans across the country to be able to sit at the table as the advocate for laws and policies that impact them, tobacco laws and policies that's going to impact them. And so we build their capacity. They're at the table, and then we have a law that's going to actually benefit them. We changed our name because in addition to tobacco, which is harmful to our communities, you know, we tackle cancer, we tackle HIV, we tackle COVID, we tackle food insecurity issues. And so, you know, it's broadened because, tobacco use is not the only health problem impacting African Americans, but banning of menthol is something that is near and dear to our heart.
Now, I mentioned in the open that there's a recent FDA announcement to ban the menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars. So what prompted this announcement and why now? Why not call for this ban 10, 20 years ago, since we've known that this study has been going on for some time?
Well, actually, it could have been banned. This process could have been started many years ago. You may or may not recall back in 2009, there was the Tobacco Control Act, which took off the shelves many flavors, pretty much every flavor, but menthol. Why did they leave menthol? Well, you know, they've done a study on that too. Not why they left it on, but they've done a study. I mean, there was a lot of pushback then, and the community was torn. I will say that I believe that the community was torn because you had the tobacco industry is really smart. And what they were able to do, which they're trying to do even again today now, is to go in and to divide the community and actually put dollars in the hands of folks who really speak out and against tobacco control and saving lives and saving the African-American community specifically, because they know that, as you did mention earlier, that 85% of African-American smokers smoke the menthol cigarette product. And so they know that this market, by the way, which has grown since 1950 to that 85%, which started at 10%, that's a huge amount. And as you mentioned, these 45,000 lives that are affected and die, people die yearly from tobacco-related diseases. They've waited quite a while to do this. It has been a study at one point that was done, and it was determined, a scientific study by the FDA, their own study, that suggested, yes, this is harmful. This product should be banned. So as you mentioned, now they've gone into this process of opening up the ability eventually to have a rulemaking, hopefully. But before they even get to that point, they've got to open up comments. Now, the comment period's not open yet, but when they do open up the comment period, it'll be for about 60 days at least. I think that's by law that it has to be at least 60 days, but who knows how long they really will do it. And anyway, we anticipate a battle from the tobacco industry once again to push back and to use spokespeople in the community as well to push against this. As you know, their marketing schemes have been great over the years, using our athletes, using specifically our entertainers. I'll say that they've used our entertainers to help push this. The music industry has been huge with this in magazines. So there's a lot of prevalent targeting to the African-American community that's been done. And so we hope that this FDA process will be quick. They will move to it quickly, and that they will move to ban this product off the shelves so that lives will be saved.
And Kevin, let me add something. It's briefly to that, as to your question as to, why now? And as Portia said, in 2009, they should have done it then, but they didn't. And so our group and others, especially like the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, Public Health Law Center, we objected even back in 2009. We've been fighting this. We said, hey, wait, you can't exclude menthol. It's what Black people smoking. And so, as Portia said, the Tobacco Product Scientific Advisory Committee studied it and said, yes, you should. Removal of menthol would be for the good of the public's health. And so we kept pressuring the FDA. And in 2013, they still hadn't done anything. So a citizens petition was filed by the Public Health Law Center, of which our group, we were in Afton at the time, the National African American Tobacco Prevention Network and African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, all these organizations, I think there was about 12, 14 organizations signed on to the citizens petition saying, you guys need to act, FDA, you need to do something because the evidence is overwhelming. Even your own evidence is there. It's overwhelming. They still didn't act. So last year in 2020, the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council and Action on Smoking and Health and the American Medical Association, along with the National Medical Association, they sued the FDA. They sued them. They said, hey, you guys got to respond and you got to act on this citizens petition that's been there since 2013. You've had long enough. You got to do something. And so the FDA had to respond. And their deadline for responding was April 29th. That was their deadline for responding to that lawsuit. And so that's how come they came out with the announcement then and said, yes, we're going to ban menthol according to this citizens petition that was filed against us in 2013, but they did not necessarily mention the lawsuit that was filed against them in 2020.
Explain to us a little bit, why are menthol cigarettes specifically, I guess, more addictive and harder to quit than regular cigarettes?
Well, there's scientific evidence that shows that menthol cigarettes are much more harmful to the public health than just regular cigarettes without this. You can kind of think about menthol as like a little mint, right? So when you pop a mint in your mouth, you feel this sensation of relief. And it's, it's nice, it's sweet, it helps you breathe, whatever. Well, what the tobacco industry has done, they've taken this menthol additive and they've put it in these products, which then will numb the throat, mask the harshness of that cigarette, and it makes it easy to smoke it. Easy to smoke it really deep down in your chest. And then what it also does, because it's so easy, you become addicted to it. It has that nicotine element that's added, and you become addicted to this cigarette, and it's more addictive. It's harder to quit it. And we know that more young people really start smoking at this young age. This is what they smoke. And it's harder to quit this menthol product. Actually, there's proof that whereas Black smokers who smoke really about the same rate as white smokers, but Black smokers are more likely to quit this menthol cigarette, and it's harder for them to succeed at it. It's due in part to this menthol additive. So there's science there as well. So Delmonte mentioned the petition and how in 2013 this petition was put out there and for the FDA to act. Well, the Tobacco Free Kids organization also was one of those on that, because we know that kids start these products, and it's harder for them to quit too. And kids in the African American community, they get that, and it's harder for them to quit. So this menthol additive is something that we really just have to stop. They stop, like I said, all these other flavors. Well, this menthol flavor has to go too.
And I was thinking that especially now during the time that we're going through with this pandemic, with all the stressors that people are feeling and the need for that relief and so forth, that students especially are even more impressionable to start smoking at an earlier age. I mean, there's studies where young students as early as middle school are drinking more often than they have before. Now they're turning to smoking, and it's not just, as you mentioned, it's not just the cigarettes and the cigars, but it's also the vaping products and so forth. So just how prevalent is this marketing campaign? It seems to be extremely prevalent towards our youth. And I guess it's because the adults, the tobacco industry knows they got them. They're already addicted. They got them. They don't have to worry. So now how do we keep that cycle going? Well, let's go after the young people now, because we need to have that oncoming of consumers of the product. So they target our young people specifically. So how long has that targeted campaign towards our youth been going on?
I'm going to let you take that, Portia, because you're at the Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids. But let me just say now, this is about money. You hit the nail on the head when you said that if they just focus on current smokers, they would go out of business, because current smokers, they already know 1 in 3 smokers will die, from using the product. They know that. And so if you just focused on smokers, you go out of business. So, Portia, I'll let you talk about, the kid targeting.
Yeah, let me say, first of all, that the Campaign for Tobacco Free Kids has been around for 25 years. We're actually celebrating our 25th year this year. And over the years, it's been our goal to create a smokeless generation, get kids off this whole piece so that they will not be addicted, so that lives will be saved. All lives will be saved, whether they're Black, white, brown, all lives. But I have to say that, we know that, yes, e-cigarettes as well as hookah and all these products are marketing to kids, that they're dangerous. Actually, last year, 3.6 million in the U.S., including 1 out of 5 high school students, used e-cigarettes. We know that the main reason why they pick up these cigarettes, these e-cigs, as well, is the fact that They like the flavors. 83% of youth e-cigarette users say, or that they actually do use flavored products. Why do they use flavored products? Well, think about the names even. Cotton candy, chocolate, marshmallow, all of these nice sounding flavors. I think there are like 15,000 flavors out there, actually, that they use and that they label with. But they're definitely not safe. These products definitely are not safe. And what it is the prevalence of the tobacco industry moving to this next phase of hooking kids. And you're right, kids have been under a tremendous stress, especially with this whole COVID piece, whether they're virtually in school or they have this hybrid thing or they're going back to school. I mean, we know that kids use these products on the buses. Frankly, I was on a call the other day with some school principals, and they actually said that kids have been smoking, even those that are going back to class now, have been smoking in class. They have a hood where they can kind of, put a string in the hood and smoke. They've got a watch product where they can put the watch up and kind of smoke. There are all kinds of crazy products out there that the industry has decided to utilize to try to hide the fact that it is an e-cigarette. It is a product that gives them this whole nicotine boost. And it's a mental kind of depression piece right now with kids and what they're expressing, right? And so they're looking for stress relief. We've been working and doing some study also and listening. Actually, we call it a listening tour in HBCU campuses specifically. And on those HBCU campuses, some of those students are telling us, look, it's easy just to go to the store and pick up this product. They're cheap and we are stressed. And this is what we do. And it's a social thing. It looks glamorous, right? This whole hookah piece. So it's a glamorous thing. It's a combination of things. But the problem is it gets people hooked. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to get off of it. It doesn't help them relieve the stress. It brings on more stress. Okay. So we've got to do our best to keep kids away from these products and to keep the industry from really just continuing to add to the death count in our community.
And can I add to that too?
Sure, please.
One small thing. And the thing is this, it's an important issue, and that is how the industry works. Portia was just talking about the stress that these kids are under. Well, the industry knows that we're under stress. Our communities, our kids, our priority populations. And so they try and market these products to these same communities that are distressed. And what I mean by that is, if you look at African-American communities, especially distressed communities where there's high rates of poverty, crime, or whatever it might be, you're going to find in those same communities, you're going to find these billboards and these advertisements of Newport, of Cool, of these mentholated cigarettes. In other words, I'm stressed. I could be stressed because of racism. I could be stressed because of police brutality. I could be stressed because of employment. I can be stressed because of my housing. But then I look around and what I see is, there's a Newport. I can have a cigarette. And that can relieve my stress. And so that's insidious, that type of marketing in our communities. That's really, that's racist, to prey on communities like that are experiencing these stressors in their environment, with relief being a product that's going to kill you. And so I just think that whole marketing thing is really something that we have to make sure that we have a handle on, and banning menthol can help us to do that.
So now I understand that there's this campaign that's being brought forth now called No Menthol Sunday. So tell us, what is that, and how can the faith community really help to improve health outcomes for the Black community?
Well, No Menthol Sunday was started back in 2015. Our organization started it as a National Day of Observance. And it was done as a result of a faith-based conference that we had, where there were pastors brought together from across the country to ask that very question, answer that very question that you just asked: how can faith-based leaders get involved? And their response was, because we educated them on what the harms of mentholated tobacco is, and they said, we need to share this information with our congregations. And what if we did it unanimously on the same day? What if we all spoke out at the same time about the harms of tobacco products from our pulpits? And that's how No Menthol Sunday was born. And the first time, it was the day right before World No Tobacco Day. But then the year after, in 2016, it became the third Sunday in May. And it's been the third Sunday in May ever since then. It's coming up this Sunday, on May 16th. And the day, it does three things on No Menthol Sunday. It really talks about the harms of mentholated tobacco products in African-American communities, and pastors and faith-based leaders from across the country can speak out from their pulpits about the harms. But then they can also offer cessation and an opportunity to abstain from tobacco use for a week, for a month, for a year. For that congregation or that community that's smoky that wants to get involved in cessation efforts. And there are toolkits and there are other things on our website, on the CTFK's website, 1-800-QUIT-NOW. But let's abstain from tobacco use together. And then thirdly, it provides those same congregations an opportunity to engage in advocacy efforts to ban the sale of mentholated tobacco products. And so if you do those three things, you build your capacity, get your knowledge, you abstain, and then you advocate to put these policies in place. That's the reason that we have No Menthol Sunday on the third Sunday in May. And my goodness, right now is a better time as any, because right now these congregations, we need them to be able to raise their voices in support of this FDA ban on menthol. And so that's what we're encouraging these congregations to do now. We've got a toolkit on our website, www.nomentholsunday.org that helps in that.
That's with the faith-based community. And we know that there's always a lot of pressure put on our churches and our pastors to take the forefront in a lot of these issues when it comes to our communities of color. But I don't want to put all the pressure, all the onus on them. So what are some of the things that the other segments of our communities can do?
As a whole, I believe that what our communities need to do, we need to, first of all, become really educated on what's going on in the community. And this, the ability to do this is great right now, and speaking to you and sharing. We actually also want to say that where there is an ability to raise it from an educational standpoint, the HBCU universities should be raising this. We have an HBCU tour that we're doing, going from university to university. We actually are working with other organizations to help raise that on HBCU campuses. There's, a group called Save a Girl, Save a World. There's Black Women's Health Imperative. We're all working together. The Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, the Center for Black Health and Equity, AATCLC. We're raising emphasis on the community at whatever juncture to understand that, number one, that this whole product push on the community is a form of institutional racism. It's a form of institutional racism that has to be stopped. We can't allow the tobacco industry to continue to engage this way. We can't allow them actually to try to use the community against us by pushing in the fear that they have as well. We encourage not only the faith community to come together, but we encourage the education community. We encourage the public health community. We encourage the civil rights community. We encourage all the community activists, those who really care about health care. The fact that understanding that by taking on this task, we're going to save lives. We're going to save lives to forward on the path of health and life. It does take more than just the faith community. By the way, though, we are the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. I have to say this. We are starting a faith roundtable where we're bringing together after this. This No Menthol Sunday push is an effort to start throughout the year, or even more, as Delmonte has suggested and said, to get people to stop using the tobacco product. And so we're going to continue this effort throughout the year with our faith roundtable. So it's more than faith, though. You're right. We have to get the community completely engaged and involved.
Yeah, the other thing that we have is with our capacity building training that we do in different cities across the country, it's a 5-part capacity building training. Because what you try and do is you've got to build capacity and you've got to develop infrastructure. And so once you've built capacity, developed infrastructure, and educated the community, well, the communities are an asset. They're an asset. And once they're educated and they have the infrastructure, they can go out and solve the problems that's harming their communities. They can go out and remove the billboards themselves. They can get rid of the billboards. They can get rid of the advertisements. They can take care of their needs and the problems in their communities, but you've got to build their capacity and you've got to develop their infrastructure to let that asset shine.
Now, I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, there's a real concerted push and targeting of our youth when it comes to smoking products. And so it seems that this type of thing just has been exasperated and goes on and on and on. So what I want to find out now is if you had to leave our audience with one final thought as to why menthol and other flavored tobacco products, and we just say all tobacco products, e-cigarettes, vaping products, everything, why those things should be banned. What would your final thought be?
These things need to be banned because, first of all, your life matters. Lives matter. And we do know that I call it the 3 Ps. It's the fact that we have to change things within our society. We do have to change the policies. We have to change the fact that people use policies to use products in a way that aren't healthy, that's not healthy. So, I'm going to add policing in that. So that whole section of saving lives, putting all that together, the 3 Ps of making sure that policies are fair, that they don't discriminate, making sure that policing is fair, that there's this whole universe of making sure that people don't take this institutional racist product, which is tobacco, and use it against our community. The African-American community is really a huge focus of ours. So I would just say more than that, people need to do what they can to get off the product. They do need to go ahead and get the help that they can get, which would be right now, at least by, calling 1-800 Quit Now or the smokefree.gov website, something to get help in the community. And so we want to make sure that people are aware of that. And we also understand that we have to expand the availability of treatments and services. So we're working on that policy piece too. I don't know if I said that quite succinctly enough to really make it a final statement per se, but we care about making sure that a life matters. We want that 45,000 number to decrease dramatically. And we know that we can do that if we start with the youth and making sure that they understand the dynamics and the health problems that can be associated with utilizing these products.
Tobacco-related illnesses kill more people than murders, suicides, HIV, and car accidents combined. So like food, drugs, and cosmetics, the FDA regulates and pulls products from the market that pose a serious threat to public health and safety. I can think of no product that poses more of a public health than our safety, to our health and safety, than tobacco.
Thank you. Thank you. We definitely would like to thank our guest today, Portia Reddick White, the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships with the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, and Delmonte Jefferson, Executive Director for the Center for Black Health and Equity. Thank you for coming on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Once again, my name is Kevin Boston Hill, and thank you all for listening to Instruction Discussion right here on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.